saw that northeasterly is pumping, and is pumping quite hard. But we're halfway through those 10 days, and the sea, as crazy as it looks right now, is going to get a lot better. Guys, in this week's show, we are talking about fish that has been coming out despite a lot of debris in the water, despite this discolored water as far as an angler could cast. And more so, despite some heavy winds that we've had over this past week. So there are fish. There are a fair amount of fish. But bear in mind, there are some areas that are hot and some areas that are purely not. And we are going to get into all of it in this week's show. We are going to be talking about stumpies. We're going to be talking about grunter. We're going to be talking about shad. More so, we're going to be talking about that non-edible action. If you are looking at the offshore side, snook, boys, there are a ton of snook coming out. And as for the freshwater, well, trout is back in bloom and bass are a bit quieter, but that yellowfish is certainly firing at the moment. And we're going to get into all of it. But before we do, guys, special thanks to our sponsors, the Kingfisher, because none of this news could be possible without them. So guys, with a couple more days of northeasterly coming through, it's going to be pumping quite hard over this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. But from Monday, we're going to start having a westerly come through, and this water will be completely cleared, right? And you are going to be in with the fish. And that is according to all our reporters throughout the coastline. So let's get into what happened over this past week and what we can expect for this weekend. Starting off down the south coast, Adam has reported a variety of species. I mean, guys, look at the species that are coming out of the south coast. We have got some beautiful sized bream. We are talking about a lot of non-edible action. But amongst that, there has been some shad. There has been a few of the other rock species that are coming out. And aside from that, guys, the bass are on fire down the south coast at the moment. So, yeah, we might not have bass at certain other areas that we usually get our bass from, which I'm going to get into later on in the show. But, guys, south coast for bass is on fire right now. So, as we know, the last couple of weeks, there has been purely a non-edge show down the south coast. And I'm glad to report that this week, we've got a much more variety of species, and from what our reporters predict, it's bound to get a lot better. Now, moving on down to Scottsboro, Rocky Bay, and Pennington. Now, guys, this also includes Warner Beach and Amanzimtoti. There hasn't been many reports. I think the anglers are seeing the water conditions as they do right now. Nothing much to report on, apart from a lot of debris in the water. Now, that day is set to clear out by this weekend, but we are going to have some big seas. And yeah, whether we are going to have some good fishing, well, we are crossing fingers that we do. Because as it stands, nothing much has really happened in those areas. But moving on down to Durban, now that's where things really start getting a bit hot. Mike V has reported that off our Durban waters, all the way from South Beach to North Beach, right up down here to Blue Lagoon, and even up to Mhlanga behind me, guys, there has been stumpies, there has been grunter, there has been shad, there's been diamonds, there's been gray sharks, a variety of non-edge species coming out between your browns and blues and a few honeycombs in between. So Durban has really been producing the fish. I mean, if you're a rock and surf angler, this is the time to do it, and it's going to get a lot better. As I said, right now, the easterly is getting a bit heavy. It is going to get a lot more heavy over this weekend. But if you can find an area that's protected from the wind, you are definitely going to get into some good all-round rock and surf action. Now, if you're looking to fish offshore of Durban, well, guys, it is snook. Snook, snook, snook. Whether you're a kayak angler, a jet ski angler, a skiboard angler, you are getting snook. Now, there has been a couple kuta in between. There has been a couple tuna in between. But snook has been the flavor of the week of our Durban waters. And if you're not going to be trolling, well, then the bottom fish action is just as fantastic. Has come through of rocker, slingers, as well as the famous reds of our bottom species. So offshore action off Durban is fantastic right now. Now, if you are looking to fish the harbor, well, guys, it is on fire. Whether you're chasing kingies, springer, grunter, they are all on the bite. Guys, there's even non-edibles coming out in the harbor. There was a hammerhead that came out in the harbor. So the harbor is on fire at the moment. It seems as though all the debris has been pushed out. The sediments have settled. As we predicted last week, the fish were going to get on the bite, and they certainly were this week. Anglers were rewarded. And like I said, Durban Harbor is on fire right now. Now, there's a lot of grunter in the Durban Harbor. Not really big ones, some nice sizes, but you're going to get more quantity than quality. So when you're out there, guys, please remember, respect those bag limits. Now, moving on up to the north coast.
Good day, national anglers. This is a live broadcast from Tongaat River mouth. Belito. As you can see, there's different colors here. Nice little channel here in front. Good for some salmon, I reckon. But as you can see, there are no anglers on the beach. Not a single soul with a fishing rod. As you can see, there's a lot of debris, a lot of grass, a lot of weed. Luckily, I haven't seen any plastic or any rubbish, so that's a good sign though. But yeah, for the rest of the week, guys, tight lines this weekend. From this side, Martin, Kwacha overnight. Good day, Vinesh and all anglers. Yeah, here on the north coast at Zimbabwe State, Tongaat River mouth, we got these two young gentlemen, which is responsible for cleaning all the rubbish. On the left hand side, we've got Spoo and Omega on the right. Thank you, gentlemen, for all your kind hard work. Really appreciate it.
Jesse has spoken about the fishing really improving over this past week, especially if you are targeting the sandy. Guys, the sandies this week already, we are midway through the week, and already we've had over 20 that he has heard of himself, right? And they are coming out on a variety of baits, and there are also edible fish in between. So definitely Salt Rock Belito is the area to be. It's been that way throughout the entire week from last weekend right up to now, and it's bound to get a lot better. We do know the sea is going to be a bit big over the weekend, so guys, go and make a morning session. You will be rewarded. Now, one of the tips to when you are fishing out there is to not cast out far. When you see that sea quite big and you are targeting those edibles, they are no more than a meter away from the rock. So guys, drop shot fishing is going to be fantastic. Light tackle angling is going to be phenomenal. So get out there and target those edibles. You will get them. And if not, well, you're virtually guaranteed to get a non-head. Now, staying up on the north coast, guys, we've got reports of a lot of sandies coming out of Zinkwazi. There's been a fair amount of crab that's been on the bite, and there has been a couple shad coming out on those north coast areas as well. In Timzini Banks, well, Nick has said rock and surf, virtually nothing much has happened all week. However, the offshore guys were rewarded with a fair amount of kuta, and I'm talking some nice sizes coming out, 20 kilos. There were a couple of around the 18 kilo mark. So if you are heading up to Zini Bank with a ski boat, you're definitely getting up to some kuta action. Richards Bay and St. Lucia. Well, guys, this past week it's been a non-head show once again. I didn't get too many reports of the edible action, but 100% non-heads has been on fire up on the north coast. As for the offshore side, well, there's been snook, there's been kuta, and there has been some tuna. So north coast as well, performing really well. Now moving on up to the freshwater side, well, Yanis reported trout is in full bloom at the moment. Whether you're fishing the rivers, whether you're fishing the still water, you are getting trout. Now there's been a lot more action on the still water than there has been on the river side. But the guys on the rivers still got some fish. As for the bass side, well, it's been really quiet this week. In fact, last weekend, the guys at Albert Falls has really struggled, and these were seasoned anglers. These are those guys who were fishing the tournament, and they were really battling. So yeah, it hasn't been the greatest times for bass action up in the Midlands area, more specifically at Albert Falls. Let's hope this weekend is a lot better. But if you are targeting that yellowfish, well, Sterkfontein is certainly the area to be. I mean, there's been some great catches coming out of Sterkies. So guys, freshwater fishing, trout, and yellowfish. And with that amount of fish around right now, if you haven't tried your hand at some fly fishing, well, there's no better time than right now.